But of that day or hour, no one knows. So now we're in the last couple weeks of the liturgical year, headed towards Advent and a new liturgical year pretty soon, like 2 weeks from now. And so these last couple weeks, the church's readings really turn a focus towards the end times. So Jesus coming again, the final times, the final judgment. And so for many, many thousands of years, when you think about it, kind of each group, each generation is thinking, is this the year? Is this the year that Jesus' words are going to be fulfilled? And we're probably and now 2,000 years later, we're still here. So is this the year? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, right? We don't know. But that's not really what the church is trying to do. The church isn't trying to sort of make a prediction or declaration of this is what's coming in the next day or the next year. But instead, these focus on the end times really are trying to give us a focus, a reminder that our life, our final destination, is not rooted in this earth, but in the next. Right? This world will pass away. All things will pass away. All creation, each one of us will pass away. Our life will end on this earth. And so our focus shouldn't be here, but in that heavenly realm, right? In heaven. Right? So that's what we focus on here at the end of the liturgical year. And so I want to talk just a little bit about the last four things that the church talks about. These is probably nothing new. Many of you have heard of this many, many times, but by way of reminder and refocus of our life. And so those last four things are death, judgment, heaven, and hell. Firstly, death. Here's the reality. I am going to die. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. It might be a long time, I don't know. Pretty soon, it's all relative, right? But I am going to die. That is a reality. I will not live on this earth forever. And there's just a very few exceptions of all humans, just like a couple that haven't died, that just went straight to heaven. So I'm willing to bet that for each one of you, at some day, you're going to die. It might be a really, really long time, or it might not be such a long time. We don't really know, right? We don't know the hour or the day that God will call us home. But we're all going to die. Now, you might know someone or that has gotten this prognosis from a doctor, where the doctor will say, you only got a few weeks, a few months to live. And maybe there's even someone at Mass tonight that's heard that firsthand from a doctor. And there's so many emotions that we can go through. It's anger, confusion, fear, denial, whatever it might be. But sort of as all that processes, people settle into it, accept it, and their life changes. They don't keep living the same way as they did before that, right? You can't just kind of keep on going like, okay, well, I'm saving for my retirement, and this is what I'm going to do in 20, 30, 50 years, whatever. It really changes your focus. Now, sadly, some people, they kind of spiral into despair and anger, and they don't trust in God's mercy. And we even hear about these people who say, I'm going to die on my own terms, and they take their life before they get too sick or too much suffering. Right? But what God's actually calling us to do is to be reconciled, to be converted, to turn back to Him. Right? How do you get right with God? If you knew you only had a few weeks to live, what would you do differently? Right? Would you turn back to God? Are there things that you would stop doing, like maybe watch a little less TV and pray a little bit more? Is there someone in your life that you would call up that you haven't talked to for a long, long time that you say, I just want you to know that I love you? Maybe it's even someone who really needs to be forgiven, someone you've been estranged from. We hear this a lot of times. People, when they have just a short time to live, they want to get right with their family members. They want to forgive and be forgiven. Are there other things you would do? Would you be more generous? Stop worrying about how much money can I accumulate, but how can I give? How can I love? How can I give my time? How can I be present to those who matter the most to me? Right? So whether we've heard this ourselves or we know someone or we just imagine it, we can think about this a little bit. Again, it's not to be morbid and kind of fixated on our own death or anything, but just the understanding that, we don't know when God is going to call us. And if when you think about it, there's something that you would say, maybe I would do this a little differently. Maybe I would have a different priority if I knew that my life was coming to an end. Maybe the Holy Spirit, maybe God Himself is nudging you. Maybe you should start doing that now. Why wait? Why wait to get a little closer to Him? Why wait to say those things that you've always wanted to say to your loved ones? Why wait to be more generous? Why wait to forgive? Because we don't know. Not all of us are going to get that warning that says you've got so much time left. We don't know. So that's the first thing, death. Secondly, judgment. Now, we're driving down 35. You've probably seen these billboards that like, when you die, you will meet God, right? Those aren't ours, Father, I don't think, right? But they're very appropriate. Because once we have this understanding that, yes, my life does not go on forever, and I will die, and then I will meet God, and I will be judged. Jesus talks to us in the Gospels about that he's going to come and he's going to sit enthroned and he's going to judge the nations. Those who are righteous, those who loved their neighbor, those who serve God are going to go into eternal bliss in heaven. And those who didn't go to eternal punishment. He talks about this. But it's not just at the end of the world, because see, at the end of our lives, we know this, that we will go before God to be judged. Well, he'll take a look at the deeds that we've done. What I've done, what I haven't done. The way I've loved, the way I haven't loved so well. Whatever those things might be. And ultimately, am I in the state of grace? Am I in friendship with God? Or am I not? I'm in a state of mortal sin. I am in a state of enmity with God. And right at the end of our life, God will judge us for that. Now, the good news is God has many, many ways for you to receive his mercy. He has so much mercy. He wants you to run to that. But ultimately, we have to. And if we reject that, we'll be judged. Okay? So a death and judgment. And so in cognizant of this, when we think about this, is there something we would do differently with our life? Like, would we live a different way? Would we make different choices if we knew that we were going to be judged on them? The way that I speak to people, the way that I speak about people, what I do in my free time, it all matters. And so if you knew that and you understood that God would judge you on how you lived and how you loved, would you do something different? And so again, if you think of something like that, you might want to start doing it now. Don't wait. Don't wait. And then ultimately, judgment, right? It'll be assigned to us eternal bliss, life with God, union with God forever and ever and ever, and that's called heaven, or eternal punishment, eternal separation from God, and that's called hell. Now, heaven is a little bit easier to talk about because I think most of us here believe there is a heaven. Jesus died, he rose and went to heaven, and in fact, heaven touches down on this altar in every Mass. That's why we're here, I hope, right? If you don't believe that that's the case, if you don't believe in there's a heaven, yeah, maybe there's something you could be doing other than this, right? It seems kind of odd to be here if we didn't believe in that. But often some people say, is there really a hell? Or if there is there anybody really there? Or is hell's just for the devil and like a few really, really bad people? But basically everyone goes to heaven. Sadly, that's not true. Sadly, that's not true, right? If everybody just went to heaven, why would Jesus make it so important for us to go and spread the gospel? Why would those be his last words? Go and make disciples of all nations, right? Baptism is so important for us, for our salvation. Why would we be here at Mass to receive Jesus over and over and over, to enter into the preview of heavenly banquet if, just everybody goes to heaven regardless? So there is a heaven, there is a hell. And the way that we live our life, the way that the amount of mercy we open ourselves up to will determine where we go. To hell forever, to heaven forever. Hell has to be a place to exist because God gives us free will. He would never force us to go to heaven. He would never force us to be in love with him, to be in union with him. We would have to freely choose it. Otherwise, it's not love, right? We don't choose love. We can't have love forced upon us. And so there has to be a hell. There has to be a place for people who say, I will not love, I will not serve. That has to be the consequence. So it is true, brothers and sisters, right? So again, if we have this reality of there really is a heaven and a hell, and I want to be in heaven, I want to be with God in heaven forever and ever, and avoid that other place, would you live your life any differently? See the theme, right? We keep asking ourselves, would I do something different? And if so, why not start doing that now? Don't wait until you think it's the end. Don't wait until the doctor says, you've got a couple weeks left to get your life in order. Don't wait for that, because we don't know if we'll get that. We don't know if we'll get that chance. So as we come here to the end of this liturgical year, we look at these four last things: death, judgment, heaven, and hell, and we can examine our own lives and see the way that God is calling us to deeper union with him, to deeper conversion. Because no one knows the day or the hour. So don't be caught unprepared.